Walk into any dealership service bay and look closely at exactly what the master technicians ride home at the end of their shift. They do not buy the fragile Italian exotics. They do not purchase the heavily marketed, computerized flagship models they spend all day fixing. Today, we are exposing the 15 exact motorcycles mechanics buy with their own money and the deeply technical insider reasons why. But beware, the legendary machine sitting at number 1 completely destroys a massive, multi-million-dollar industry lie about reliability. You will not believe what it is. Number 15, the Suzuki SV 650. When a professional mechanic wants a reliable middleweight naked bike, they entirely ignore the heavily marketed Ducati monster. Dealerships push the Ducati, but mechanics choose the Suzuki SV 650 strictly from a technical standpoint because of its native engine geometry. The Ducati utilizes a complex, high-maintenance desmodromic valve system that requires expensive, specialized service intervals. The Suzuki, however, utilizes a brilliant 90-degree V-twin. Because the two cylinders are set at exactly 90 degrees apart, the engine achieves perfect primary mechanical balance natively. It does not need a heavy, complicated, power-robbing internal counterbalancer shaft spinning inside the crankcase. That is the specific insider technical detail that mechanics love. It is free, flawless engineering efficiency. The only common failure point on this entire platform is the voltage regulator rectifier, which can overheat due to its location on the frame. However, it is a minor severity issue. Replacing it takes 10 minutes, requires 2 bolts, and costs under $100 for an upgraded aftermarket unit. Mechanics know this engine possesses a massive mileage ceiling, easily exceeding 100,000 miles before requiring any major internal piston ring or main bearing work. Resale value holds incredibly well because track day racers constantly buy them up, ensuring your financial investment is completely protected. The SV 650 is a naked legend, but the fully fared sport tourer sitting at number 14 hides an immortal engine component that Japanese engineers refuse to build anymore. Number 14, the Honda VFR 800 Interceptor, 5th generation. Mechanics who want a dedicated sport touring machine actively avoid the BMW sport tours of the late 1990s and early 2000s due to their catastrophic final drive bearing failures. Instead, master technicians buy the 5th generation Honda VFR 800. Mechanics choose this exact model specifically for its valve train architecture. Modern motorcycles use cheap steel timing chains that eventually stretch, slap against the guides, and require highly expensive replacement. The 5th generation VFR uses entirely gear-driven camshafts. A cascade of precision-cut, hardened metal gears drives the cams directly from the crankshaft. They literally never wear out, they never stretch, and they emit a distinct mechanical whine that mechanics adore. That gear-driven valve train is the insider secret that makes this engine strictly immortal. The V4 engine architecture is slightly more complex than a standard inline-4 due to the rear cylinder bank being tucked under the gas tank. But a patient home mechanic with a shop manual can manage it. Parts are highly accessible through massive global Honda networks, and routine repair costs remain very low because the gears never need servicing. The most common failure point is the stator and regulator rectifier burning out, melting the plastic connector block. While it can leave you stranded on the highway, the severity is low because upgraded aftermarket components permanently solve the issue for under $200. The mileage ceiling on a gear-driven VFR is legendary. Mechanics routinely push these engines past 150,000 miles without ever splitting the main engine cases. That Honda is a heavy highway missile. Prepare yourself for number 13, because Yamaha engineered a lightweight parallel twin that completely embarrasses its European rivals in the reliability department. Number 13, the Yamaha MT-07. When a master technician wants a modern lightweight hooligan bike, they completely avoid the KTM 790 Duke. While KTM markets their bike as a scalpel, mechanics know the KTM suffers from catastrophic premature camshaft wear that destroys engines. Instead, mechanics buy the Yamaha MT-07. They choose this model from a strict technical standpoint because of the CP2 crossplane parallel twin engine. The specific insider technical detail here is the offset cylinder design. Yamaha engineers slightly offset the cylinders from the exact center of the crankshaft. This drastic geometrical shift reduces piston slap and minimizes shear friction against the cylinder wall during the violent downward combustion stroke. The result is an engine that produces virtually zero internal wear over its lifespan. The engine architecture is the definition of simplicity. It is an exposed parallel twin, meaning a home mechanic has instant, unrestricted access to the spark plugs, the throttle bodies, and the valve cover without spending hours stripping away complex plastic fairings. Parts are incredibly cheap and available globally. Typical repair costs consist of nothing but oil, filters, and rear tires, which you will burn through quickly. The only common failure points are the factory suspension components, which are severely underdamped and cheaply manufactured. The severity is low mechanically, but it drastically affects handling in tight corners. Mechanics simply drop in upgraded fork cartridges for a few $100s. The CP2 engine boasts a mileage ceiling easily surpassing 80,000 hard miles before major top-end work is even considered. Resale value is exceptionally strong because it is the most highly recommended first big bike on the entire market. Yamaha built a reliable street machine, yet the absolute dirt-cheap tractor sitting at number 12 will literally survive a nuclear apocalypse. Let us leave the pavement entirely behind. Number 12. The Kawasaki KLR 650. Mechanics looking for a rugged adventure machine frequently avoid the BMW G650GS. The BMW is heavily marketed to global explorers, but its complex electronics and premium German parts prices infuriate technicians. Instead, they buy the Kawasaki KLR 650. Mechanics choose this exact model because it is purely mechanical. There are no engine maps, no traction control modules, and no complex wheel speed sensors to fail on a remote dirt trail. The specific insider technical detail is the balancer chain tensioner, universally known in the industry as the doohickey. Factory KLRs had weak, stamped steel tensioner springs that would snap and destroy the engine. Mechanics instantly replace this with a forged aftermarket part. Once that single $30 flaw is fixed, the engine becomes mathematically immortal. The engine architecture is an ancient, liquid-cooled, massive single cylinder. It is so simple that a home mechanic can rebuild the entire top end on the side of a dirt trail using basic hand tools and a flashlight. Parts are cheaper than any other motorcycle on earth, and you can buy them in any country. Typical repair costs are virtually zero. Aside from the doohickey, the only common failure point is heavy oil consumption at sustained high highway RPMs. The severity is extremely low. You just check the sight glass and keep adding cheap oil. The mileage ceiling on a KLR is practically infinite because you can bore the cylinder out and drop in a massive new piston for the price of a fancy dinner. Resale value holds incredibly steady. A used KLR will cost $3,000 today, and it will cost $3,000 10 years from now. We covered the dirt, but the massive inline-4 muscle bike sitting at number 11 contains a wildly over-engineered swing arm that modern manufacturers are too cheap to replicate. Number 11. The Kawasaki ZRX 1200R. And when a master technician wants a retro muscle bike, they completely ignore the early water-cooled Ducati Nakeds. The Italian bikes look beautiful, but suffer from severe electrical gremlins and swollen plastic gas tanks that warp from ethanol fuel. Mechanics buy the Kawasaki ZRX 1200R. They choose this specific model for its massively over-engineered bottom end. The insider technical detail is the eccentric chain adjuster housed inside a heavily braced extruded aluminum swing arm. While modern bikes use cheap push-pull bolts that easily strip their threads, the ZRX uses a massive, rotating eccentric cam that makes rear-wheel chain alignment flawlessly accurate and structurally bulletproof under heavy acceleration. The engine architecture is a carbureted inline-4 based directly on the legendary Ninja 1100 sport bike. It is incredibly robust, and a home mechanic can easily synchronize the 4 Keihin carburetors with a basic vacuum gauge and a screwdriver. Parts are widely accessible, and because the engine shares heavy architecture with other Kawasaki heavyweights, repair costs are kept very low. The common failure point is the water pump O-rings, which can dry out and cause a minor, annoying coolant weep. The severity is incredibly low, and rebuilding the external water pump takes roughly 1 hour. The mileage ceiling on this massive 1,200 cubic centimeter block easily hits 90,000 miles before the valve seats require any serious attention. Because Kawasaki discontinued it and it bears the iconic green Eddie Lawson replica styling, the resale value is skyrocketing. It is a genuine mechanical investment. That Kawasaki is a brutal street roller. Now prepare yourself for number 10, because Yamaha engineered a massive touring behemoth that actively defies the laws of mechanical wear and tear. Number 10. The Yamaha FJR 1300. If a mechanic wants to ride across the entire American continent, they actively avoid the BMW K1600. The BMW is a technological spaceship, but replacing its clutch requires dropping the entire massive 6-cylinder engine completely out of the frame, a 40-hour labor nightmare that costs thousands. Mechanics buy the Yamaha FJR 1300. They choose it because it delivers massive luxury touring capability with strict sport bike reliability. The specific insider technical detail is the massively over-engineered dual-dampened shaft drive. While BMW final drives from that era famously explode, the Yamaha uses a highly refined, low-stress shaft system that practically never fails. You simply drain and refill a few ounces of cheap gear oil every 10,000 miles, and the final drive will literally outlast the rider. The only common failure point on older models is the ignition switch wiring, which can degrade from heavy electrical loads and completely cut power. The severity is moderate, but a simple aftermarket bypass harness permanently fixes it. Mechanics know the FJR possesses a mileage ceiling that borders on the absurd. It is highly common to see these engines surpass 200,000 miles with nothing but basic, routine maintenance. Resale value holds extremely well because knowledgeable, high-mileage touring riders refuse to buy anything else. Yamaha conquered the pavement. However, when mechanics want to take their massive touring machines completely off-road, they turn to the unkillable juggernaut waiting at number 9. Number 9. The Yamaha Super Tenere R1200GS. When mechanics want a massive, fully loaded adventure touring bike, they quietly ignore the heavily marketed Ducati Multistrada. The Multistrada is incredibly fast, but its massive Desmos service bills will completely bankrupt you, and the fragile, highly complex electronics hate the dirt and moisture. Mechanics buy the Yamaha Super Tenere. They choose it because it is arguably the most robust, over-engineered adventure motorcycle ever manufactured. The specific insider technical detail is the dry sump oil system built directly into the main crankcase. Instead of having a vulnerable external oil tank that can be punctured by rocks, the oil is stored low inside the heavy engine block. This lowers the center of gravity massively and guarantees the internal oil pump never starves for lubrication, even if the heavy bike is dropped on a steep, rocky mountain incline. The engine architecture is a liquid-cooled parallel twin featuring a massive 270-degree crank for extra traction. It is surprisingly simple, and a home mechanic can perform all routine maintenance, including servicing the final shaft drive in a single afternoon in their driveway. Parts are universally accessible and repair costs are astonishingly cheap for a flagship 1,200 cubic centimeter machine. The common failure point is the manual cam chain tensioner on early models, which could rattle us on cold starts. The severity is low if caught early, and swapping in a redesigned, updated Yamaha tensioner permanently cures it. The mileage ceiling on the Super Tenere easily hits 150,000 miles. It is literally built like a diesel truck. Resale value holds remarkably well because the dedicated overland community knows it is completely unkillable. That 1,200cc beast is massive. Wait until you see the highly optimized, perfectly balanced commuter machine sitting at number 8 that refuses to break down. Number 8. The Honda CB500X. Mechanics looking for a flawless daily commuter or a light adventure bike, avoid the heavily marketed KTM 390 Adventure. The KTM is plagued by blown head gaskets and complex electrical dashes that completely fail in heavy rain. Instead, mechanics buy the Honda CB500X. They choose it strictly for its highly optimized, massively understressed engine design. The insider technical detail is the perfectly square engine architecture. The bore and the stroke of the piston are almost exactly identical. This perfectly balanced internal geometry means the engine does not have to rev to the absolute moon to make usable power. This drastically reduces internal piston speed and completely eliminates premature main bearing stress. The engine architecture is a fuel-injected parallel twin that is so cleanly designed a home mechanic will actually enjoy working on it. Every single bolt and sensor is logically placed. Parts are available in literally every country on the planet, and routine repair costs are practically a rounding error in your monthly bank account. There are almost zero common failure points on this specific engine. The only minor complaint is a slightly weak factory battery that drains quickly in cold weather. The severity is exactly 0. You simply drop in a lithium replacement and forget about it. The mileage ceiling easily surpasses 100,000 miles, which is astonishing for a small displacement twin engine. Resale value holds incredibly well because it is universally recognized as the safest, most reliable used bike purchase you can possibly make. The Honda is a sensible commuter. On the other hand, the British Street Fighter waiting at number 7 hides a completely deranged racing cheat code deep inside its engine block. If these 8 insider secrets have already protected your wallet and your garage, then subscribe to the channel. You will not believe the technical genius waiting at number 1. Number 7. The Triumph Street 66675, first generation. When a master mechanic wants a premium, aggressive middleweight street fighter, they completely avoid the beautiful MV Agusta Brutale. The MV Augusta is gorgeous, but finding replacement parts takes months, and the complex rear hub bearings self-destruct routinely, costing thousands to replace. Mechanics buy the first-generation Triumph Street Triple. They choose it because it contains a massive engineering cheat code. The specific insider technical detail is that the entire engine block is lifted directly from the high-revving Daytona Supersport racing bike. However, Triumph detuned it for the street using milder camshaft profiles and lower electronic rev limits. This means the absolute bottom end of the engine, the heavy crank, the connecting rods, and the main bearings are massively over-engineered for the actual horsepower it produces. It is a highly stressed racing engine living a highly relaxed, easy life. The engine architecture is an inline 3-cylinder. While balancing the 3 fuel-injected throttle bodies requires a specialized digital vacuum tool, a home mechanic can easily handle the rest of the routine maintenance. Parts are highly accessible, and repair costs are remarkably reasonable for a premium European performance machine. The only common failure point is the regulator rectifier, a heavily known issue on many bikes of this specific era. The severity is moderate as it slowly drains the battery and leaves you stranded, but simply relocating the rectifier to the direct cooling airflow path completely solves it forever. The mileage ceiling easily hits 80,000 miles without losing a single unit of horsepower. Because of its legendary howling exhaust note and raw analog feel, resale value has completely flatlined and is actually starting to climb. Triumph dominated the pavement. Now we completely abandon the asphalt because the ancient air-cooled dinosaur sitting at number 6 uses a cylinder head design that is pure mechanical genius. Number 6. The Honda X 650L. Mechanics who want a massive street-legal dual-sport machine actively avoid the modern Husqvarna 701. The modern European singles make incredible horsepower, but their extremely tight internal tolerances and fragile hydraulic clutches always fail deep in the muddy woods. Mechanics buy the Honda XR 650L. They choose this specific model because it has remained virtually unchanged on the dealership floor since 1993. The specific insider technical detail is the RFVC, or radial 4-valve combustion head design. Instead of placing the intake and exhaust valves in a traditional straight line, Honda arranged them radially around the central spark plug. This creates an incredibly efficient, domed combustion chamber shape that allows this massive, air-cooled single to pass strict emissions and run flawlessly without requiring heavy liquid cooling radiators or complex electronic fuel injection. The engine architecture is the ultimate expression of raw mechanical simplicity. A home mechanic can completely rebuild the simple carburetor on a tree stump in the middle of a forest using a multi-tool. Parts are literally everywhere, and the global aftermarket is massively supported. Typical repair costs are strictly limited to knobby tires, heavy-duty chains, and fresh oil. The common failure point is the countershaft spline, which can rapidly wear down and strip if the front sprocket is installed incorrectly. The severity is high if ignored, as it requires splitting the engine cases. But mechanics know to use a specific, wider aftermarket sprocket to permanently prevent the wear. The mileage ceiling on this air-cooled block easily surpasses 50,000 hard, abusive dirt miles. Resale value is absurdly high. People pay top dollar for pristine, older models because they know Honda built them perfectly the very first time. The Honda XR is a dirt legend. Watch out for number 5, because BMW built an adventure bike with an engine layout that makes doing your own valve adjustments an absolute dream. Number 5, the BMW R1200GS Hexhead era 2004 to 2009. When mechanics want a flagship BMW GS, they actively avoid the modern, complex, water-cooled versions. The new ones suffer from catastrophic stator failures that literally require splitting the massive engine cases in half to fix. A brutal, expensive job. Instead, master technicians seek out the older Hexhead AR1200GS. They choose this specific generation because it is the absolute peak of accessible, user-friendly German engineering. The specific insider technical detail is the screw and lock nut valve adjustment system. Unlike modern shim underbucket systems that require removing the heavy camshafts and doing complex mathematical equations, a home mechanic can adjust the valves on a Hexhead sitting on a milk crate in 20 minutes using nothing but a 10mm wrench, an Allen wrench, and a simple feeler gauge. It is an absolute joy to maintain. The air and oil-cooled boxer engine architecture is completely exposed to the elements. You do not have to remove any plastic fairings to instantly access the protruding cylinder heads. Parts are widely available through BMW and premium global aftermarket suppliers. While dealership repair costs are notoriously astronomical, smart home mechanics pay very little to keep this rugged machine running. The common failure point is the final drive main bearing. The severity is high if it shatters at highway speed, but mechanics simply replace the main bearing proactively every 40,000 miles as standard routine maintenance. The mileage ceiling on the Hexhead easily hits 150,000 miles crossing continents. Resale value holds extremely well because global overlanders actively hunt for this specific, simple generation. The BMW rules the globe. Do not blink, because the heavy Japanese powerhouse coming in at number 4 hides a brilliant suspension secret that completely transforms its handling. Number 4, the Kawasaki Ninja 1000 Z1000SX. When a mechanic wants a fast, highly comfortable sport tourer, they completely avoid the Aprilia Tuono. The Aprilia sounds exactly like a Ferrari, but it possesses a deeply fragile V4 valve train that requires massive wallet-draining service bills. Mechanics buy the Kawasaki Ninja 1000. They choose it because it delivers raw superbike power in a heavily reinforced, highly reliable package. The specific insider technical detail is the horizontal backlink rear suspension. Kawasaki intentionally positioned the rear shock horizontally high above the swing arm, completely isolating it from the massive radiant heat baking off the exhaust system. This brilliant layout prevents the internal shock oil from overheating, thinning out, and fading when the bike is fully loaded with heavy luggage, ensuring the handling remains flawlessly sharp in the canyons. The engine architecture is a massive 1,043 cubic centimeter inline 4. It is incredibly straightforward, and a home mechanic can perform basic oil changes, hydraulic brake bleeds, and chain adjustments with complete ease. Parts are highly accessible, and repair costs are kept completely in check by Kawasaki's robust, competitive dealer network. The only common failure point is the heavy, restrictive factory exhaust system, which inevitably rusts at the lower collector box. The severity is low. Mechanics immediately swap it for a lightweight, free-flowing aftermarket header system, instantly dropping weight and gaining massive top-end power. The mileage ceiling easily eclipses 100,000 miles because the massive engine produces incredible torque without ever needing to hit the red line. Resale value holds perfectly because mature riders recognize it as the ultimate street-focused weapon. Kawasaki built a rocket ship. However, if you want that same unkillable reliability wrapped in a middleweight adventure frame, the machine at number 3 uses a cylinder coating from the future. Number 3, the Suzuki V-Strom 650 V-Strom. Mechanics looking for a midweight adventure bike run away from the Triumph Tiger 800. The British Triple is undeniably fun, but its delicate stepper motor for the idle control constantly gets jammed with fine trail dust, leaving you stranded in the middle of nowhere. Mechanics buy the Suzuki V-Strom 650. They choose it because it takes the already bulletproof engine from the SV 650 and wraps it in a highly capable touring chassis. The specific insider technical detail is the use of SCEM, or Suzuki Composite Electrochemical Material. Suzuki essentially Nikasil-plated the inner walls of the aluminum cylinders. This ultra-hard, heat-dissipating chemical coating means the piston rings slide up and down with virtually zero friction, making the cylinder walls practically immune to traditional mechanical wear and tear. The engine architecture is a liquid-cooled V-twin. A home mechanic can easily handle the routine maintenance, though accessing the front spark plug requires carefully removing a few plastic body panels. Parts are incredibly cheap and available literally anywhere on Earth. Typical repair costs are astoundingly low. The common failure point is the internal stator, which can burn out around 50,000 miles. The severity is moderate, but swapping the stator is a simple 1-hour job in the garage with a basic gasket scraper. The mileage ceiling on the V-Strom routinely shatters 150,000 miles. It is a legendary mechanical workhorse. Resale value is rock solid because it is the absolute default recommendation for highly practical, budget-conscious touring riders. The V-Strom is practical. Prepare yourself because number 2 is a street-legal dirt bike that uses expensive exotic metals to dominate the urban landscape. Number 2, the Suzuki DR-Z400SM. When mechanics want a lightweight, aggressive hooligan supermoto, they entirely avoid the premium European 450s like the KTME XC. Those European race bikes measure their strict maintenance intervals in hours, not miles, and require expensive piston rebuilds constantly. Mechanics buy the Suzuki DR-Z400SM. They choose it because it is an absolute street-legal cockroach. It completely refuses to die. The specific insider technical detail is the magnesium engine covers. Suzuki specifically used highly expensive magnesium to keep the overall engine weight incredibly low, paired directly with a massive, over-engineered shim-over bucket valve train. The heavy-duty valves on a DR-Z are so robust that mechanics rarely, if ever, actually have to change the metal shims. They check them, and they are always perfectly in spec. The engine architecture is an ancient, carbureted, liquid-cooled single cylinder. A home mechanic can literally tear this engine down blindfolded. Parts are cheaper than dirt, and the global aftermarket support is the largest of any motorcycle in human history. Typical repair costs are basically zero. The common failure point is the front countershaft sprocket seal, which can slowly leak engine oil. The severity is low, and the fix requires a simple $10 rubber seal and exactly 5 minutes of your time. The mileage ceiling for this single cylinder easily pushes past 40,000 miles of absolute abuse, bouncing off the rev limiter daily, which is unheard of for a supermoto. Resale value is absurdly high. DR-Zs hold their value better than almost any other motorcycle on the global market. We have seen the dirt, we have seen the street. The moment has arrived. The machine sitting at number 1 completely destroys the biggest, most expensive lie the entire motorcycle industry tells you. Number 1, the Honda GL1800 Goldwing. The biggest, most profitable lie the motorcycle industry tells you is that complex, massive flagship touring bikes are guaranteed to break down and cost you a fortune in dealership labor. When mechanics want the ultimate luxury touring machine, they actively avoid the Harley-Davidson Ultra Classic. The massive air-cooled Harley runs incredibly hot in heavy traffic and literally shakes itself apart at idle. Mechanics buy the Honda GL1800 Goldwing. They choose it because it is, quite literally, a highly refined, unkillable Honda Civic engine placed beautifully onto 2 wheels. The specific insider technical detail is the flat-6 engine architecture. By laying 3 heavy cylinders completely flat on each side of the crankcase, the massive engine achieves absolute perfect primary and secondary mechanical balance natively. There is zero internal vibration. Furthermore, Honda uses a massive, automotive-style silent timing chain setup that virtually never stretches or fails. The massive engine is so perfectly balanced that a nickel balanced on its thin edge directly on the engine block will not fall over when you rev the throttle. It is a masterpiece of precision engineering. The engine architecture is undeniably complex, but a dedicated home mechanic can still perform standard fluid maintenance, brake jobs, and final drive gear oil changes easily. While OEM replacement parts are undeniably expensive, you rarely, if ever, actually need them. Typical repair costs are strictly limited to heavy touring tires and massive brake pads. The common failure point is the complex audio and navigation system buttons sticking from dust and rain exposure. The severity is purely cosmetic, easily solved with a quick spray of electrical contact cleaner. The mileage ceiling on a Gold Wing is staggering. Professional mechanics consider a Gold Wing with 100,000 miles to be just broken in, with many documented models exceeding 300,000 miles without a single engine rebuild. Resale value is ironclad because they are the undisputed, unkillable kings of the open road. If this video saved you from buying a fragile, expensive plastic toy, click the video coming up on your screen, settle in, and I will see you in the next video. Subscribe to our channel and like this video.